Welcome to the Circle of Trust podcast with your host, law firm CMO Keith Dyer. Brought to you by LEXGRO, the leader in law firm marketing strategy, training, and implementation. If you're ready to grow your law firm with predictable case flow and revenue, you're in the right place.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Circle of Trust podcast. I'm excited today to introduce our guest, Patrick McEuen. He's out of Columbus, Ohio. He is the Director of Marketing and Operations for Meyer Wilson and Werning, and they are an arbitration law firm that operates basically nationwide. Welcome to the show, Patrick. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you inviting me on. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, it's a nice Monday, right? A way to end a Monday work days to do a little podcast. So tell us a little bit about, I know that you're involved in AI, and before we got on here, we were talking about how you seem to wear a lot of hats, and you probably can give a lot of good information on not only marketing, but also operations as well. Tell us a little bit about your role and how long you've been there and what your why is. Like, why are you doing, what is it about you, what you do that you like doing, and your purpose?
Yeah, I definitely wear a lot of different hats. I usually joke around here that if it has a screen or connects to the internet, it's probably my job to handle it. So I handle everything from our CRM to our different software platforms to our marketing and attribution software, our vendor management on that side of the house. But also I do in-house kind of our AI implementations and use cases, and just play the role of connecting all of the technology and the marketing and this different software that the firm uses and making it play nice together. I got here originally, I was hired in, the firm was going through a crazy transition during COVID, like many law firms were, where technology suddenly became required, not necessarily optional anymore. And every potential client out there needed a way to get a DocuSign or a Zoom. And I happened to be brought on board to help at that time. We helped modernize the firm a little bit and serve as David's direct assistant. And technology has completely saturated the industry. We're no different. So with that, obviously my role grew with importance, and we've been adding more technology and different platforms in to get us to a tech stack that we like. And that's how I'm here today. And that's how you end up being the director of operations, technology, and marketing all in one, because it's all tech platforms and software. For me, my why really comes down to, since joining the firm, I watched time and time again, whether it was fractionals, whether it was outsourced vendors, just feeling like our law firm owners could not get a straight answer, and we couldn't get a good dialogue with a lot of our vendors. And it was a frustrating thing to experience, watching them try and run their practice while dealing with all of the headaches that came with that. And with each one, I just felt the determination to try and figure out a way that we could manage that relationship better. And just one by one, we worked through the list and got to where we are now. I love being able to give attorney time back into the day and let our law firm owners not have to worry about all of these things but at the same time, have their answers at a quick touch. So that's really what I like to do, is build systems and processes and procedures that allow reporting and data to be leveraged appropriately.
Yeah, I think what you said rings true. I've heard that described in many different ways, but I think just the law firm itself has a hard time with vendors, because vendors are plugging them into cookie cutter solutions. Whereas even though all businesses are basically the same, there are nuances and things to each individual business that need to be addressed. And sometimes cookie cutter solutions don't address those in the way that they should, right? So yes. I appreciate you saying that. So I think what we'll get the most from you out of this in terms of helping other law firms is, tell us a little bit about like the tech stacks that you use. And I heard you mention marketing attribution. That's something we're heavy into. How are you handling some of that? Like, what is the tech stack, and what is the software or the process you have set up for attribution?
It's a bit of a web. As you probably know, attribution is one of the biggest challenges that any law firm faces, especially as things like the GDPR or the CCPA kind of stick up for consumer rights on the internet. And as a user myself, I totally understand that, but it makes guys like ours life a little bit harder trying to track that journey. For us, the biggest hurdle was, when I first arrived here, we had more technology platforms and CRMs than we had total lawyers. So consolidating all that down into one system of truth And then integrating those tools, that really saved us a lot of headache. Right now, we use a variety of different platforms across different mediums. For calls and web forms, we use CallRail, which I'm sure a lot of other firms are leveraging as well. But we've got those directly integrated with our CRM so that we can have uniform reporting. Along with that, we use different variations of Hyros and State, which are different attribution tools that can help track that customer journey throughout the process digitally. With us doing a little bit of the social stuff on the side as well, it's really helpful to be able to track across mediums, whether if they're watching our YouTube video and then they come over, and that really benefits us quite a bit. But naturally, a lot of it does come in with landing pages and not being afraid to use 400 CallRail numbers so that you can make sure that every call that comes from a certain place, you know where it's coming from and track that consumer journey all the way back. We use very geo-specific landing pages so that way, whether it's through the phone call, whether it's through the cookies, or just through confirming with the intake once we talk to the individual, we try to have a 50 to 70% clip on attribution for our intakes coming in. And that allows us to double down on what we feel like works and move away from what definitely feels like it's not working.
Yeah, we do the exact same thing. I mean, you're the first person I've ever heard talk about this like that.
That's a good sign, right?
When we move in with law firms, one of the things that we do is to create this attribution, and we do it exactly like you just described. We use every one of those softwares you're talking about. So yeah, that's cool. I love that. And so when we talk about marketing and operations, oftentimes there are certainly people that are talented enough to do both, and it sounds like you are. On the operations side, are you really more just helping with the technology, or are you helping with the whole process of how they execute cases and clients and journey and all that stuff?
What's unique is I actually started first in operations. So originally I was leading our Litify build out, which meant I had to meet with every practice area. We had to do the matter plans, the user acceptance testing. So I had to work with every team, every individual at the firm, and learn what they did. And that was really beneficial for me. It gave me a very granular level idea of what each person in the firm was doing to build out Litify to work that way. So then transitioning to marketing after that, now I'm mostly maintaining these processes that we built them out in Litify and then just augmenting them wherever possible with AI at this point. So definitely working my way back in and re-meeting with those teams and seeing how things have evolved and finding which ways we can plug in generative AI and LLMs to lighten the workload. But day to day, I'm certainly more in the marketing weeds nowadays and just maintaining what we built out in Litify with our different support vendors. I'm not going to pretend I do it all. I've got,
So as an arbitration law firm, how do you guys get your clients? Is it mostly through internet inquiries or relationships?
We are such a small niche that it's a highly competitive nationwide industry. We primarily try to operate in arbitration with FINRA, AAA jams, and are looking for investors, retirees, individuals who may have been defrauded by a Ponzi schemer or a financial advisor. So digital is really the only place more often than not that we can have a lot of success. Locally here in Ohio, David has a great reputation, Amazon bestselling author. He makes my job really easy, but outside of that, digitally, we have to do a lot of our work online. Right now, I'd say we're split 1/3 between paid ads, between organic and SEO, and then 1/3 to the referrals, which is really a goal that we set out with, because when I arrived, it was a lot more shifted towards the Dave and Courtney Werning funnel of getting referrals in the house and trying to build that up naturally.
The paid ads, I guess you're running them through Meta mostly?
Actually, right now, we do primarily Google search ads. We've cycled through a lot of different vendors for that because you have to find a vendor that'll be very malleable and proactive with a lot of your strategies. But Meta, we tried and we've had some success for certain campaigns, but primarily Google search is still doing really well for us. And Bing, it's older with our demographic of primarily retirees. So it does pretty well.
You're doing Google pay-per-click for people that are looking for that. And then you're probably retargeting them off the website on Meta and also on Google.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. That's how the first places my brain would go for it.
We're on the right track.
You learn new things every day by listening to people talk about how they're managing their firms. And so that's one of the reasons why I have this podcast, is just to try to you can glean little bits of information here and there. I think You're dead on, though, as we move into this age of AI, and it's already was important anyway, but the tech stack and how it all works together just evolves constantly, right? Like it's never stops evolving. And so having things that work together is so important, right? Open APIs, ZAP, things like that. You got to have the ability to have, you got to have someone on board that understands how all that stuff works.
Yes, I agree completely. I think now more than ever, a lot of law firms, at least that I speak to, both at different conferences and that I consult with on the side, the primary concern is they don't necessarily have somebody in-house that can connect all these softwares that they've acquired and ways they've all augmented their firm on the technology side. They don't, it's not, my comparison is always doctors, right? Lawyers and doctors are both service professionals, but doctors have an army of people that help them just be a doctor. And lawyers have to go out and just duke it out there. But both have the same level of obligation to their clients' data or their patients' data. And it's really hard to go out and find vendors and security professionals and technologists who can help you build an integrated system and allow you to keep doing what you're good at, but then develop out the business half of your law firm. And that's really what I wanted to try and help David do when I got hired here. And I've fortunately been grateful enough that they invested quite a bit of money into what was our vision for modernizing the firm and leveraging it for this next era of law firm management. And I'm just grateful that they were willing to do that. And it's been working out for us so far. But I think you're exactly right that legal tech as a role and a job that's in this industry is only going to increase in terms of importance and competition.
Yeah, and I think that you are right. It sounds like you work with some people that have vision, which is important. Because I think if you aren't paying attention to these things, you're going to get, everybody says this throughout time, but I don't think it's ever been more true than right now, that if you're not paying attention to how to modernize your law firm and you're not listening to what the industry and the world is putting out there as what needs to happen, you could easily become a dinosaur. And other firms are going to be competing to beat you, and you're going to be at a disadvantage if you don't start the process of modernization. And what I mean by that is definitely relying on the technology that's there to help in any way, and it's going to constantly be evolving. So you have to have someone in the firm or working with the firm that's paying attention to what's happening out there and reacting to it in a proactive way to help the firm. And then also what else I find to be difficult is getting everyone in the firm that works there to embrace the stuff that you're bringing on and not look at it as, oh, it's taking my job. Everybody just needs to take a collective deep breath about that, because we're just not quite there anytime real soon. I don't think before everybody's job is gone. It still takes human beings to enact this stuff and put it in place and make it work. And we're a long way away from that not being the case, in my opinion. I read about things that people are scared. Yes, there will be manual tasks and things that are taken, but I think we're going to go through a real golden era of this for the next 5 to 10 years for human beings to do things they've never been able to do, because they don't have to worry about processing tons of information and doing all these things that suck up time. They can focus on strategy and building the right systems. And I think a lot of firms get caught up in what is it, producing cases or not producing cases? Is the campaign producing cases or not producing cases? And you're like, yes, it is. However, you've got to pay attention to what's coming, and you got to react to that too. And then you'll get more cases down the road. You got to put things in place now. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying, but
No, I follow completely. And I think that, to your point, the legal industry is going through like a 20-year transformation that every other corporation had already begun through the internet and into the big data era with social media and whatnot. We're just getting it in 5 years, where we're all going from COVID to now. The rate of progress is so rapid. I agree completely that any firm that's lagging or hesitant, it's going to be even harder to catch back up after this, which is why there is that scramble. But I'm with you as well on AI, even owning my own company and building out these different, whether it's actual assistants, or automated workflows. The reality is we're going to need people involved in these things for a long time. The amount of data and the amount of scaffolding that you have to put on these agents so that they can even be proficient is ridiculous. So I think that is going to keep you and I from not having to worry about our jobs being taken for a really long time. But
Yeah.
to your point about marketing, I truly think that one of the biggest mistakes firms do make is trying to dial too much in on how many cases did that make. I can't tell you how many of our campaigns initially from the onset, or maybe in 6 months, or even after we ended it, did nothing for us or felt like they were just a good testing ground to try and explore and experiment with things that either later the insights that we gained there, we leveraged appropriately elsewhere, and we're actually able to turn that into a huge objective win, or it just did enough of the branded impression that those people just remembered us. And I've listened to some of your other calls before where you talked about just having your name out there is half of the battle. Sometimes it's more of an issue for local firms, but you don't know how people remember you, but they do. And sometimes those lost marketing dollars, you recoup that loss. Us as marketers, we say, hey, that's where we recoup that loss a little bit, was with those cases that came in with no attribution. That was probably that campaign that failed last quarter.
And I just think that some ROI is often delayed, right? Everybody they think they're being astute business people by going, what's my ROI on that? And you hear this all the time. And look, I think it's a legitimate question, obviously. Like, things have to have an ROI. But I'll put it to you this way, what made the biggest law firm in America the biggest law firm in America? We all know that it's Morgan, and they did it through marketing.
Yeah.
The greatest companies have the greatest marketers. Those marketing channels that they use, it's not all about is every channel developing ROI. It's like, what does my total media look like? And how does the funnel work? Because whenever you're doing marketing that sometimes is difficult to trace, like TV or radio or billboards or whatever, or even some of the stuff that we do on the internet, you can't always trace the fact that it's made an impression on someone and that they're coming to you before they ever Google like their solution. So in other words,
absolutely.
I drive to work every day and I see a billboard and I listen to a radio commercial every day for 10 years. I've never been injured. One day I get hit by a truck going through the same intersection that I always do. It breaks my leg and it breaks my ribs. So I have a legitimate injury claim. I decide that I'm going to use the firm that I remember these guys, they're always around. People subconsciously make the connection that the familiarity of the firm is almost a trust thing. Like it's a subconscious thing. And so they decide they're going to use XYZ law firm, and they go to the internet and they Google it because they don't remember their phone number. And Google gets the credit for the attribution, although if you really look at the life cycle of this particular client or most clients, that's why you do that kind of marketing, is to familiarize yourself with people. And you can do it on the internet too in different ways. It's just a matter of how you decide to do it. But that piece gets lost on a lot of law firms and law firm owners because they're looking for that immediate ROI. And it just doesn't work that way all the time. The funnel is awareness at the top, right?
Yeah.
And then it comes all the way down to decision. And there's different things in between there that have to work. And I think what we see happen with firms that stick with a plan for 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, is that the more marketing money they're spending in smart ways, you follow the attribution, you see where cases start coming from, you test you ask people where they're hearing it from, you follow these trends, you see what your competitors are doing, right? You follow these trends, and over time you get more and more clients, and then they go out and send more and more referrals back into the law firm, and those referrals technically are free. And so then the cost to acquire a client comes down, and then suddenly these firms have the ability to buy more cases through marketing, and that's how they win. It's like a long-term strategy. It's not, am I getting the ROI? Am I getting the ROI? That's never going to get you anywhere. It's almost like It's almost like a mouse wheel. Like you're too myopically focused on the little things that you're not really. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a classic scenario of walking over dollars to pick up dimes. I think if you're too short-sighted in your marketing approach, you're going to sell out what you could be in 3 years for what you want to be right now. And unfortunately, and that's why I mentioned earlier, I'm so grateful that I work at a firm that I have an owner who's willing to take risks and experiment and kind of go full steam ahead into some of these areas that some other firm owners may be a little bit more risk adverse with. I jokingly created I called it a law firm modernization framework, and I presented it to David, and it was joked about as my manifesto around here. But it was what I envisioned as how we could possibly capture as much data as possible about our marketing funnel so that we could make those educated decisions in exactly like you've defined. When you start drilling down exactly where your good cases, your highest quality cases are coming from, and then you reverse engineer how that's happening, you're going to get far more knowledge and insight into how the clients that you want to get are getting to you than continuing to throw money at vendors or going to conferences and chiming in on different things. It's right there at your own firm. And more often than not, the number one advice I give to anyone who's trying to explore and experiment in the space is just start tracking anything. I don't care if it's an Excel spreadsheet. Every call that comes in, track it.
Yeah, implementing and tracking. Like you're getting nowhere if you don't have a plan to implement. You have to implement and track, review, implement, change directions on a couple of things, but just start figuring out the battlefield.
Oh, yeah. And use different vendors for different things. Is it easier to use an all-in-one digital marketing workshop? Sure. But is it probably a little bit better to get the best at PPC ads, the best at meta ads, the best at this? It's going to take a little bit more coordination on your part as the internal process owner, but you're going to get far better results. And in our case, we've even gone as far as to say, hey, one of the two of you gets to stay after this. Let's see how things go. And unfortunately, when you're in a scenario like that with a marketing vendor where you're trying to push for more results or a little bit more engagement or better communication, that's unfortunately a strategy that sometimes you have to take. But in our experience, more often than not, it's led us down the direction of partnering with the people that we get the best results with, that work the best with us, and have a more data forward approach. Our biggest issue was a glaring deficiency on our half internally, why our marketing wasn't working. And it took hard reflection on, yeah, of course we don't know what's working. We've got more CRMs than we do lawyers. We don't have any kind of uniformity. But in building that out, we've come a long way. And now David goes around and when he's talking with other firm owners, he says, listen, we had to look in the mirror. It was us. And more often than not, that is the case.
Sounds like a really smart guy, and nobody ever does that typically. They don't want to admit that it's them, or they lack, a lot of firms lack patience. And I get that it's not easy to pay people money to not see immediate return on, but you're right. You got to put the best players on the field, and generalist agencies that do everything, I've noticed, are not good at anything. They're decent a lot, but they're not great. We've entered into a world with technology where you have specialists that specialize in certain things. And you've got to focus on who is the best at doing those kinds of things. And we're working with a firm right now where we're comparing a bunch of different digital firms and lead generation firms. And you start to see over time what comes to the top. But this has been a great conversation, man. I really appreciate it. Like, it's gone by so fast because I hope we're talking shop as opposed to maybe interviewing. We're comparing notes more. So I appreciate that. If you had to give firms one piece of advice before we wrap up here, what would it be?
Oh man, we didn't even get to AI. I agree completely. This flew by.
You can talk about AI for a bit if you'd like. We talk about it a lot. We use it a lot. And there's a lot of applications within firms that have never even been discussed, but most people don't even know about them. But yeah, feel free to talk about whatever you like. We're not in a giant hurry.
Oh no, I just meant it's gone so fast that we would be approaching time here. We haven't even hit what is a centerpiece of where everyone's freaking out right now, whether it's SEO, the evolution of paid ads, losing effectiveness. And in my view, we're heading towards like a zero-click internet. And I really think that's an era that none of us really know what's going to happen. I always think of SEO as a space where a lot of us are guesstimators. We're doing the best we can. And I think more than ever, Geo or whatever name you want to give to it is just the new version of that, where we're all going to be optimizing, doing the best thing we can to have LLM search results be prevalent. But it's going to be just like SEO, where every new update and everything's going to change, and we're all going to be chasing that same tail. If I could pick one thing that I would recommend law firm owners be trying to look at, is an internal hire to manage a technology stack and begin the modernization of your firm. And that includes the marketing side of it, because more than ever, you're going to need these technology tools to remain effective, in my opinion, obviously, in the digital marketing landscape. If your firm lives on referrals, this is bad advice for you. You don't have to listen to me on that, right? There's all different solo practitioners and people with different goals for their business. But if you're trying to grow and you want to scale, if you want to remain competitive, you're going to need some type of technology in your firm to get the efficiency that's required to do so.
Yeah. That's really our business model. Even though I come in as a fractional CMO, we place marketing managers into firms with the idea that they're gonna build the tech stack. We know the tech stack we want to use. I mean, basically, you just called most of them out right there. The CallRail is a huge one.
Yeah.
And I've seen people try to move away from CallRail to other systems, and I would suggest for law firms, for right now, I would not do that. But that's my opinion.
I really CallRail's platform. I know people have their complaints with it, but in terms of the flexibility and the ability to integrate it directly with so many different things and not have as much of a concern. Oh, yeah. Fantastic. I don't know about you, but I've spent more than enough time in Zapier trying to connect things. I don't want to touch it anymore, whether it's Zapier, N8N, any of them. They can be challenging.
Use it unless I have to.
Exactly.
But yes, you're right. CallRail is simple and effective, and it can attach to a lot of things. So that's great.
I think for the value it adds too, it's incredibly affordable. Just in the ability to drill down and where the calls are coming from, whether it's your Google business page, your new billboards, your print ads, you can run tracking numbers for anything and then just drill down from there. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. It's very nice. We do run into sometimes the challenge of the firms wanting easy to remember phone numbers versus, that's a tough one.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of that. We want a local area code. I'm like, they're not giving us one. We're going to have to go with this one.
One costs $25,000.
Looks like we're going to use the cheaper option there. To your point, though, if that's your concession that's being made, is the swapping number target, I think that's definitely worthwhile. I think the era of people remembering the jingle type phone numbers is probably coming to a close here anyways. Everyone's going to be asking their LLM enhanced Siri to just call the best injury law firm or something here soon.
I think that is right around the corner, to your point. I don't think people remember numbers as much as everybody thinks they do either. It goes both ways. We're not out of it yet, but we're getting there. Man, I really appreciate your time, Patrick. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Akron, Ohio. I grew up in Cuyahoga Falls, a small suburb outside of Akron. Came down here at Ohio State. Did 4 years there, got a job in ops at a random MRO distributor down here, then met Dave after.
Nice. So you're a big Buckeye fan.
Oh yeah, OH.
Yeah, you just won a national championship, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
We
won the first playoff for the 4 team and the first playoff for the expanded team. So I think that's pretty good. Go Bucks.
It's nice to see the Big Ten get a couple of wins in there after all those SEC years, right?
I agree with that completely. Except for that team up north. That was the one I could have done without. I think if anyone else would have won, I'd have been happy.
They did cheat, right?
Hey, thank you for bringing that up. I was going to say I didn't want to look like the bleeding heart Ohio State fan, but yes, definitely.
Well, I'm kidding around. I guess it's probably debatable. I don't have a dog in the fight, so I can only repeat what my Ohio State friends tell me. And also just other people. I think the people have been concerned about it. I do find it interesting that Harbaugh got all those, penalties put on him in college football, but he'll probably never come back to college football.
I think so too. Convenient. He skipped town right after.
It's interesting how he's, I love San Diego. It's a really nice place.
This has been really fun, Keith. I'm glad I was able to hop on here. I appreciate you inviting me on, man. This has been great.
No, I'm glad to have you. And thanks for being our guest. And I think you've given some really great information thank you so much for being on here, man. We'll talk to you again soon, hopefully.
Fantastic. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Circle of Trust powered by LEXGRO. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow us and leave a review. Want to grow your law firm faster? Book a free strategy call at lexgro.com. Until next time, keep growing, keep innovating. Let's grow with LEXGRO.